Welcome everybody to the live stream here. Bitcoin continues to see some beautiful volatility, which has been fantastic for traders such as ourselves, and even in the direction that most people like to see. So I just want to take a look at some charts on different time frames. Take a look at Bitcoin, take a look at Ethereum. If you have any altcoin requests for those of you here with me right now, feel free to throw those in the chat as well. I can take a look at whatever. Yeah, taking a look at different time frames, and like I said, at the end I'm going to be going over a couple strategies I like to use when I'm scalping and being a degen myself, kind of a thing. So yeah, with that, we'll hop right into it. I'm going to start by looking at Bitcoin on the weekly chart, always starting zoomed out and looking in. And you guys, a lot of you will be quite familiar with my logarithmic chart here. This is basically the longest chart history that I know of. This is Bitstamp. Basically just comparing market cycles here. You can see that phase one of the bear market always has this little bit of a support range. We break below it, we get that final capitulation, and then we kind of range sideways, and eventually when we reclaim that box, that's kind of the first very nice signal for a market cycle to kind of be starting over, in my opinion at least, because when I look at this and how it's played out in the past, this was a couple market cycles ago. You can see that as soon as we got back above this blue box, we ended up holding it as support here, and then we were just off to the races. This last market cycle, many of you may have been here for this, but basically everyone was expecting the kind of the same thing what people were just expecting, and you know, myself included, that I had to be a little bit cautious because at the end of the day we were just trading at resistance a few weeks ago. So I was leaning bullish, but I was cautiously bullish. And the reason for that is just I remember so clearly last market cycle how I myself felt at these points, thinking that, you know, this is old support here. There's no way this is not going to play out as resistance and just reject the market extremely hard. And you can see that we just kind of blasted right through that. And I got a little bit of PTSD from that because I remember trying to short this whole range up and just getting wrecked. So just having that memory of last market cycle and how it felt that, you know, same thing this market cycle. This is kind of where we had phase one of the bear market support. We dropped that, got our final little sell off here, got back up to this level, started treating that old support as resistance for several months, actually. That's a lot of trading action there. And, but we never got that harsh rejection that so many people were just expecting had to be a thing. And just the way it goes, you guys, the markets will do whatever they want. I mean, you can have whatever theories you want. Nothing has to happen. The more important thing with being traders isn't so much, I mean, yes, being able to predict obviously goes a long ways and helps, but the main thing, you guys, is reacting. So we can make our predictions, but being able to react properly to those predictions is kind of where the important part of being a trader is. So just being ready with this, understanding that we do not have to respect this as resistance for long, especially after, you know, even after a second rejection at this support resist flip here, even after two, we never got that harsh rejection. Again, we just formed a double bottom, a beautiful double bottom on the weekly. When we look at the indicators here, we had some hidden bullish divergences, and that's those hidden divergences are quite powerful. I prefer them over a regular divergence, to be honest. Just because a regular divergence, you're more so looking at reversal of a trend. But I mean, in the end, I mean, reversals only happen once, whereas trends continue until they don't. So that's where these hidden divergences showing that, hey, you know, a double bottom here. After a beautiful pump to the upside, we even broke this old resistance back here, which is where we found our double bottom. Beautiful flip there as well. So, I mean, yes, it was good to be cautious at these levels, but the fact that we've now broke above this box, I think Bitcoin's in a beautiful position moving forwards. I think that, yes, you know, there's absolutely the chance that we drop below it, just like last market cycle we did. This was COVID, you guys. This is where the markets totally shut down. The economy shut down. So take it for what it is. That probably had a big playing factor in why we ended up dropping that support once again. But it was short-lived, right? I mean, after that, money printer went on, and I mean, it was parabola from there. So kind of what I'm looking at right now is I just want to see this blue box hold. I mean, yes, obviously we can get quite choppy. We can bounce around. Obviously, we can just have some kind of another range, just like we had here, right? I mean, maybe now we're just going to trade here, which would actually make a lot of sense because it gets very close to that 618 Fibonacci that I've been talking about since last year. I was saying that I truly believe that the market, after we saw FTX collapse, I figured that, you know, our first real big stepping stone, I mean, obviously this support box here, but I was quite vocal for months about the fact that I really thought that our true bear market rally, or our first bull market rally, I guess, whatever you want to call it, I really do think that's kind of the level that we top out at. And I'm not saying we're going to set new lows, anything like that. What I'm personally thinking, and obviously this doesn't have to happen, and I'm not going to be trading the weekly myself. I'm not much of a swing trader. I'm more of a scalper, as I was talking about earlier. But just being aware that this could be a possibility, that we're seeking these much higher targets. I truly believe that Bitcoin is on its way towards that kind of 40, I'd say 42 to 48,000 is kind of where I'm targeting for the weekly chart. So, and I do believe that when we get to that level, there's a strong possibility we see a harsh rejection, just like we did back here last market cycle. The market cycle before that, we got a harsh one here too. This was a 40% correction there, but you can see that, and I talk about this at every stream, you guys, is as soon as we get those weekly candle bodies closing above that 618 rejection, that's where it's been parabola on, basically. That happened this market cycle back here. If I go to our previous market cycle, same thing, right? When we actually got our weekly candle body close above that 618 rejection, that's where it was just parabola on, just straight vertical there. So that's kind of my line in the sand, that I want to see what happens at that level moving forward. Obviously, anything like that doesn't have to happen. Just because it's happened every other market cycle does not mean we have to face that harsh rejection at that level, because I mean, on smaller time frames, you guys know that one of my big leading tools for when I'm scalping is the Fibonacci tool, and I'm kind of looking at that 786 886 pocket quite a bit. That's because just this market cycle specifically, I've noticed it being respected quite well on shorter time frames. So I'm kind of curious if maybe that'll carry over to the longer time frames. So maybe we get a pump that, you know, so many people are watching this 618 level. I see so many people talking about it, and obviously, like myself, that's the level I'm most drawn to. That's why it's highlighted on my map so clearly, or on my chart here. But, you know, maybe the fact that so many people are talking about this level, maybe we do just get a short squeeze and we grab more liquidity up closer to these Fibonacci's. I mean, we're going to have to see, right? Obviously, play it for what it is. When I'm trading, I'm looking at shorter time frames when I'm trying to pick my entries anyways, but just some important levels to be aware of on the longer time frame there. Looking at the 4 hour, you guys know that I was pointing out this diagonal support here, which we did end up dropping, got back above it. It's starting to get a little flip-floppy, so I don't know how much credit I want to give it at this point. The fact that we dropped it, regained it, and now back above it again, I'm tempted to just kind of readjust, say that, you know, maybe this is going to be our new trajectory. Obviously, when it comes to diagonal trend lines and stuff like that, you do have to modify them from time to time, so not everybody likes playing them for that reason. I just like to move them as I go. But again, just as we get more touches on this trend line, what I'd be looking for is more looking at smaller time frames when we get to this level. Something I actually like to do when I'm scalping is, let's say, okay, this is a trend line on the 4 hour that I'm watching. I will add an alert to go once per minute, so that if we do end up touching this trend line, I want to watch, once again, talking about reaction, right? I want to see how it's being reacted with. I'm not just setting a limit long order at that trend line. I am waiting to see what happens. And then if I have a 1 minute chart that gets some kind of a failed break, a little bit of a liquidity grab, a double bottom, I have my indicators lining up with divergences and stuff like that along that trend line. That's more so where I'm going to look for a scalp entry. And from there, I am very quick to close usually anywhere between a quarter to half of my position, I generally close very quickly. And after that, I hope to catch a runner with that. I'm not expecting a runner or a home run trade when I'm trading a 1 minute chart, or even less sometimes, right? But I still want to catch them if I can. And that actually happened last night. I entered a bit of a scalp. I closed more than half of it very quickly. And then it was a 100x trade, so I like to really start closing those very quickly, updating my stop loss. And then by the end of, well, I think it was the end of this morning when I finally ended up closing the rest of my position, but I ended up hitting something like a 440% profit with the last little bit that I closed. So that's where, you know, that was entered on a less than a minute chart, and I caught that home run, but I only caught it with part of my position, right? Because I'm not being stupid and leaving my whole position run expecting that home run, but I just want to accept them when they do come to me. So yeah, that's basically how I would treat scalping this 4-hour trend line if we do end up getting to that level. But yeah, let's zoom in a little bit more. By a little bit, I just want to check on my positions. I did mention to you guys that right before this stream, I picked up a little bit of a Bitcoin scalp and a bit of an Ethereum scalp. And I just want to talk about that a little bit. Once again, I am leaning bullish, so I am actually not interested in trying to short a reversal. This is a train I am not willing to stand in front of. I would rather just pump the brakes on longs if they start to backfire on me. I would just pump the brakes, wait for further confirmations, maybe wait for a further retrace, and then get back into longs. I'm not really interested in shorting right now, to be honest. If I do, it's going to be closed very quickly, because I just don't necessarily think that this bullish pressure is going to let up. So yeah, basically I was looking at very tight stop losses because I'm on a 15-second chart here. But basically, where was it here? I think it was back here. I had this yellow support line just because, you know, we set this high, or this high or low, higher high, and then I mapped out that line. We got this little bit of a deviation below it, but then ended up getting back above this line and holding it. So I took a little bit of a scalp, and again, trading with 100x, so a very tight stop loss, just kind of below the lows here. And I was very quick to close a quarter of my position there, and I updated my stop loss. Did it get hit? I think I kept it a couple bucks below this yellow line here. I might still be in my Bitcoin long. I'm going to have to check that. The Ethereum one, I know I'm out of. Where did I take that? I ended up entering right here. We had kind of this little triple bottom. We had this very faint demand zone here. We had this higher lows, higher highs set on the trajectory here. We had our W's. We're trending to the upside. You guys know that's one of my favorite ways to use these indicators, is just kind of using signals to point out a trend for me. And the fact that these reversal warnings were supposed to be bearish, but they're trending to the upside, is just showing me that the trend may be to the upside. So I was more, once again, looking for scalps long. Got this little triple bottom, very tight stop loss just below here, and caught this little pump. Closed half my position on this one, and then I got stopped out here, you can see, because I updated my stop loss to break even on that one right before the stream. So I am out of my Ethereum trade for sure. Let me check my Bitcoin one actually on my other device here. No, I still have a little bit of a Bitcoin position. It's a small one because I knew I'd be distracted with you guys here, but yeah, that is from this blue line down here at 36,510.3. So actually very close to where we are right now. But yeah, if we end up hitting that here, actually, let me just double check my stop loss here too. I am going to set my stop loss on this one. I'm going to put it at 36,488 on the rest of my position. I would take a small loss on the rest of my position, but like I said, I closed a quarter of it. Where was it? Up here. I ended up closing a quarter of my position, so even if I get stopped out on the rest of it, down at 488, I would still come out with a very small profit, probably basically break even. But the Ethereum one, I know I took decent profits, so I don't really care what happens with this one. But yeah, is anyone else in any positions, scalps, swing trades? How's everyone feeling about the market? Do you think there's too much FOMO? Do you think there's too many people expecting a reversal? How are you guys feeling?
Yeah, I'm personally not in any scalps. Definitely not what you're doing, mate. It's a bit scary looking at that 15-second stuff. But
Oh
I am
yeah.
in a yeah, I am in a S&P short, the kind of swing, and that's about it really.
Sorry, you said a short on what? The SNP?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I should bring that up here. Let's bring it up on shitcoins. Yeah, because I believe this was talked about in the group as well, correct? Because yeah, oh yeah, I can see why we obviously were right at resistance. Hey,
Yeah, I've got the hidden bearish divergence signal and the trend reversal warning.
yeah, uh, yeah, and also I'm seeing these hidden bullish divergences on my oscillator or band oscillator up here. But you can see that that just never played out. We dropped that support while that was signaling, so just showing a bit of weakness in my opinion. Also, I mean, we have these gaps. I wouldn't be too surprised to see some of those fill. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and as far as your risk reward, right? I mean, if you're looking at a swing down, let's just see some Fibonacci's where we could end up. I mean, obviously anything can happen, but I would expect actually we'd have to watch how the 382 is respected. Quite often in a strong trend, that's where you'll end up finding support. So maybe this is where it bottoms. If we end up dropping that, I mean, that's where I'm starting to target some of these lower fibs. But I haven't been looking at the S&P too much myself. I've seen a few people talking about it in the Discord there. I've never done any back testing on it, but I assume it moves very similar to crypto, basically in sync. Feels like everyone wants it to crash, even though it's pumping. Looking a little toppy for sure, unless Biddy can carry the rest of the market further. Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I even feel that a little bit. That I don't. I want more. I was honestly hoping a little bit that we would have seen a bigger pullback, and you guys who have been in my streams are aware that I was talking about the potential that I would love to see a pullback a little bit and play that downside volatility as well. But we never did get that drop back down. And when there's people talking about those targets like, oh, we still have to hit 10K or we have to go back down to 14K. I mean, nothing has to happen for one, and for two, I don't think I'm lucky enough to get those prices again at this point. I just don't see a reason why we would have to retest the lows. I mean, absolutely, it could happen. We get some sort of a black swan event, market panics again. Absolutely, it's possible because anything is. But I mean, I just think that the market, as far as these longer time frames, looks absolutely beautiful. I just don't know why people would think that we have to be bearish because when you look at this chart, it's a weekly chart. So yeah, everybody thinks that these moves are too big. But if this was a 5 minute chart, even if it was a 1 hour chart, a 4 hour chart, a 15-minute chart, basically anything other than a weekly, people would think it's totally natural market movement. If we ended up coming all the way up here, hell, even all the way up here, nobody would bat an eye at that. Everyone would think that looks so natural on any other chart, but the fact that it's happening on the weekly, this just feels unrealistic, and it feels like we have to be overbought because everyone has that bear market PTSD, because so many of these ranges, I mean, anytime you start gaining any momentum, it's shut down, momentum shut down. And it's just a tight consolidation on a longer time frame is all that is. So everybody just gets such bad, just set in the ways of this kind of price action where it just isn't moving, and then thinks that when it does move and volatility does return to the markets, people just have a hard time understanding that that can go a lot longer than you think. You know, it's markets love to overextend themselves, and that goes in both directions. So yeah, you know, we broke a very serious structure level here, this blue box I've been talking about. You know, even the 382, I was talking about 382 fibs being very in a strong trend, being a very strong level. That's our 382 right here. And you can see, yeah, last week we actually wicked to it absolutely perfectly, but we're not getting a rejection there. We're still looking like, I mean, obviously anything can happen with this candle yet in the next couple of days here, but it's looking like we might get a weekly close above that 382. So like I said, there's going to be pullbacks, there's going to be volatility. You know, it wouldn't be too uncommon like to drop back down. Let's say we close a candle at this level. I mean, it wouldn't be all too uncommon to kind of wick down in this previous candle body. And again, everyone would think that, oh, this is a sucker's rally, we're going to crash from here, when in reality, we might just be testing lower into the previous candle on a longer time frame. So I think the market's in a very nice place right now. I'm not too interested in shorting right now. I much prefer just carrying on the momentum with the long side. I know a lot of people will see that as FOMOing in, but that's why, like I said, I'm trading shorter time frames anyways, and I am very quick to start locking in my position and then just reducing my risk from there. Oh, Biddy's doing a little pumpanachi here. How's this position?
Do you hedge trade? And if you do, what's the lowest kind of time frame you would hedge trade on?
I will hedge sometimes. Again, I treat hedges like a scalp for the most part. Like I try and get into one, and then if I can bump up my stop loss fairly quickly, then I'll try and hold on to them. But I don't hedge all that often. It's just once in a while if I feel like, you know, I am tempted to close my position that I'm already in, which means that I'm kind of looking like the market's going to reverse on my position here. So in that case, if I do see it at the time, I don't mind taking one if it's a tight stop loss anyways, kind of a thing. But I don't hedge all that often though. I'm not really, I don't look for them as much as I should, but I will take them if I happen to feel like taking the position in the other direction. But, well, like, let's say right now, if I see the indicators line up on an absolute perfect short, let's say the W's are trending to the downside, we're setting lower highs, lower lows, we hit 786, 886 Fibonacci pockets starting to get rejected, something like that. Yeah, you know, in that case, I wouldn't mind opening a hedge short. But as it stands right now, I'm not really looking for one yet.
Fair enough. Thanks for that.
You bet. I know a few guys in the group are hedging quite often. And honestly, if you do it right, it's a very powerful technique. I haven't done it a whole lot, but I know sometimes it can work in your favor.
Also, Stu, do you with the advanced trend indicator, do you ever use the Heikin-Ashi candles?
I personally don't, just because the way I look at double bottoms and double tops and stuff like that, I really like looking at the candle structure a certain way. So I just haven't used them enough or back tested any strategies with the Heikin-Ashi candles, so I can't really give an opinion one way or the other. I've seen a lot of people with the indicators, especially when they're using like the long and short signals and stuff like that. It does look like it. Honestly, it kind of looks even more accurate when using them, but I've just never personally done it.
Cool. All right. Fair enough.
I think Dust often looks at the Heiken-Ashi. He'd be a good one if you have any questions about it. Like I don't even know how they're calculated or anything, to be completely honest. I've always just done the regular candles.
Cool.
PYR and
Any
TV.
thoughts on? Sorry, any thoughts on TRB?
Sorry, on which?
TRB.
BR,
Color?
BRB?
No, TRB. Tango Romeo Bravo.
Oh, DRB. Sorry. DRB. Let's check it out. Like that, yeah?
Sorry, TRB. T for Tango.
Oh man, I am sorry. I know exactly which one you're looking at, and I saw today how big it pulled back, and I was actually very surprised by it. Where are we here? Mexi. Holy. Oh, that's a 1 hour chart too. Wow, that did something happen there, or is that just a pullback to old support? That's interesting. What are the indicators saying here? Yeah, I mean, doesn't look great. I mean, obviously, I expect some kind of a bounce at some point because this was just absolute carnage on those few hours there. What was it at this morning? It was at 143. It dumped like, what, 30%? 40% in a matter of a few hours? Holy, does anyone know if anything happened there fundamentally, or is that just a basic market move? Because, I mean, there is basic market structure there if you're looking at like a diagonal kind of a support. You know, there's your three touch.
This has been trending for quite a few days now.
Yeah. Oh man. I was watching this one when it was down at like $40, but even then I thought it was so volatile that it was dangerous to play. Where was that? I remember looking at it on stream one time. Maybe it was somewhere in this area. Maybe it was 60. But I was already scared to play with leverage with this one because it was so volatile. And I mean, holy smokes now. I mean, if you're comfortable with it, I would definitely use lower leverage, obviously. But man, there's going to be some big swings in here. That's going to spark volatility for sure. Even the fact, I wouldn't be too surprised if we do come all the way back up towards these levels because, you know, we had such a beautiful little support trend line here. 3 nice touch points, end up breaking it, even respected it from the bottom side just with that candle wick there. I think that's going to be a strong level, and if it does get some kind of a bounce, that's where I'd start to look at Fibonacci levels as well. And you guys know, as I was talking about earlier, I love that 786, 886 Fibonacci pocket. So, I mean, I absolutely think that, first of all, we'll have to see what happens at the 382 here. But if we start closing a bunch of candle bodies above that, even if we end up pulling back a little bit, at that point, I would start to think that we're going to end up targeting this box up here. But like I said, I know I've said many times, I'm not a fundamental guy, so I don't know if something spooked the market there specifically, or if it was just basic technicals. But if it's just basic technicals, I mean, that's going to be a beautiful one to trade if you like high volatility. Are you in any positions on that one, or do you spot hold?
I'm in a short right now. I'm thinking whether I should. I just opened a short at around the same price, 103 or something like that.
Okay, kind
I'm
of
a
where.
newbie. Yeah, so don't look at me.
Well, let's zoom in, see if we can find. Yeah. See, I mean, on a 1 minute, and it depends what kind of a time frame are you typically trading?
Want to exit in like maybe a day or two or something like that.
Like the daily chart, or just like holding a
Yeah,
trade for
daily
a day?
chart. Yeah, daily chart. I think
Yeah,
I got the sell signal on the 4 hour.
okay. I typically don't have the long and short signals. Let's turn those on.
Got the sell
Yeah,
signal, but I was too late to respond to it, so I ended up shorting
I
it a bit later.
yeah, I mean, the thing is, when you get a sell signal like this, I mean, that's kind of one of the reasons I personally like to choose my own entries, so I don't really use the buy and sell signals all too much with these indicators. I really like the reversal warnings and coming up with my own strategies with the signals, kind of a thing. But you gotta be careful with this, just because that sell signal wasn't really confirmed until the candle closes, but at that point it's already back at support here.
Hmm.
So it's, you got to be a little bit cautious, because sometimes it will tell you to short into support or long into resistance. So depending if it's going with confluence and some another strategy you have or anything like that. um, it's really tough to say, because that does look like the kind of break of structure that, I mean, it could be a very serious thing. Let me just try and map out some more random lines here. I don't look at this coin all too much, but just freestyling a couple trend lines here. Just looking for areas that we might see a potential retest, rejection kind of a thing. Just mapping out some random diagonal trend lines. I always like to look for exact wick touches. That's why I've chose the few trend lines that I have here. So I mean, it really depends. Like, yeah, you know what? Maybe we are getting rejected off this guy here. Let me just change the color so it's easier to see. But you know, maybe we did just have this. I typically like trend lines to have 3 touch points before breaking, before I consider them valid. But I'm also usually on shorter time frames, so maybe something like a 4 hour, this will actually be quite valid, that we have 2 touch points there, and as we broke down below it, now it looks like we're respecting it with that candle wick as potential resistance. So maybe we are
Mhm.
seeing some kind of a support resist flip already. Um, just be aware of the risks, right? Like I said, if we
Yeah.
are going to find support up at this horizontal level here, just be aware that, you know, this thing could really bounce quite a bit higher, before, even if it is carrying the trend to the downside. I mean, there's absolutely the possibility that we see something like this and get a rejection there and then carry on lower. That could absolutely be a possibility. But
Yep, makes sense.
I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean a lot. Um, just going to plant a local low here. Let's go back to the 15-minute here. I mean, you know, we are coming up to some old support right here, which could be flipping into resistance right around where we have that diagonal retest. So yeah, I mean, I do see the reason for shorting this, because I mean, if momentum, especially if there is something fundamental going on there, even just from a structural level, you know, yeah, I mean, even if we do pump higher, the thing is, there is a lot of resistance here, especially where we're getting to right now. This whole range may act as resistance. If the price breaks above this level, I mean, obviously there's a straight shot gap up to those higher Fibonacci's I was talking about. So yeah, just make sure you have your stop losses in place and stuff like that, right? Depending what your risk tolerance is, how high your leverage is, stuff like that. But
That was super useful. Thank you.
you bet.
Hey Stu, do you mind having a quick look at the chain link 4 hour?
Ooh, chain link. I can absolutely do that. Oh man, this thing's been on a nice run. Yeah, I mean, momentum's definitely on its side. Um, it's looking like it's struggling a little bit right now. Let's see where it might pull back to if it does get a little toppy right now.
That's exactly what I was kind of after. I'm kind of expecting a pullback, and with my kind of limited level experience in trading, I don't want to go against the trend, but I'm just trying to prepare and see where it could potentially pull back to before it starts going back up again.
Yeah. I mean, as it stands right now, this is kind of, we had this high, we had this low, so we did set a higher high here. Or so after we set this high and then our higher high, this is where we confirmed our higher low here. So I'd be kind of looking at this box here. I mean, the thing is, the chart is moving nicely that it does have these little pauses, because that actually forms that little bit of structure, right? I mean, even back here, there was quite a bit of time that the price was hanging out in this range. So really, the important thing right now is that momentum is on its side, and it has built a little bit of, horizontal structure here. Obviously very volatile if it does lose support. I mean, some of these support levels could be quite a ways away, right? Just to map out a few levels that I think will be important. Also, because you can see that right here, we had resistance and support confirmed at this yellow line here. Kind of the same thing here, right? We had this resistance flip into support right there. So these, I would say those are some important levels right now. And basically, yeah, I mean, as you drop one pivotal point, just kind of start looking for the next one, right? So, I mean, that's where we kind of have to watch how these levels are respected, right? Let's try and find a Fibonacci. Let's say even from this big pump we had up to here. Let's say, I mean, we start dropping some Well, actually, that's interesting too. Look how well the 382 lines up with that first line. That first resist support flip there. So it's nice to see that confluence. Sorry?
I think that the 618 level seems to line up pretty good with the support you drew earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think quite often on these diagonal trend lines, you will quite often see a third touch point. I would definitely keep my eye on that trend line. I haven't been looking at Link either all that much. I'm kind of... the way, I mean, this is just getting off topic a little bit, but I typically haven't been watching altcoins all that much. I usually wait until Bitcoin kind of enters its bull market, starts breaking all-time highs and stuff like that, and that's kind of when I start looking at altcoins a little bit more. So yeah, a lot of these I haven't mapped out before or anything, but just if I was looking to trade Link, and maybe I should, because Ethereum's moving really good today. Maybe altcoins are going to be the play here. But I would definitely watch if a Link ends up coming down to this level again. I want to see how it reacts with that trend line. And you know what? I will do that. I will set alarm on here. Once per minute. And if we end up coming back down to that level, I want to see how it's reacted with. And then if there's some kind of a failed break, a little liquidity grab, a perfect double bottom, anything like that kind of on that trend line on a smaller time frame, then I have one of those opportunities for a real tight stop loss, so I can use my ridiculously high leverage that I love to use on the shorter time frames and really kind of dial into an entry there. So I'm going to watch out for that. I'm not desperate to get into anything on this, so I don't know. I'm only gonna play it if it does come back to that level. But let's even look for another Fibonacci here, just from last time we tested that trend line before we got that little pump. You can see the 382 came in as support there. The 618 lining up with that resist support flip there. And actually also the 786 lines up with kind of the a good chunk of that trading range there, so that should be a strong level of support if we do end up falling towards this range here. I think that could be beautiful support for Link.
Yeah.
Will it happen? I don't know. This thing's been on a moon mission, so maybe it just goes absolutely parabolic, blue sky breakout, who knows, right? But those are a few levels that I'd be watching on it personally.
Yeah, you're a legend. Thanks for that, mate.
You betcha. Let's check out some shorter time frames. What's the 1 minute looking like? Now we're speaking my language here. Actually what I do like here is we had, what did we have here? We ended up breaking this little bit of resistance here, and then I bet we pulled back to the 786 fib if I were to take a random eyeball here. Wow. See, that's why I love the 786 fib. It is respected so well so often on these shorter time frames. That's why I always say that I love that Fibonacci pocket. Never got right into it, but that 786 is pinpoint accurate there. That would have been such a nice entry if we were watching it on a shorter time frame.
Yeah, no, it never ceases to amaze me how well some of the fib lines are respected, to be fair.
Isn't it ridiculous? And people say technical analysis doesn't work, and then you can just eyeball something. Oh, I've seen this 1,000 times. Yeah, pull up a random tool, and sure as shit, it lines up, right? On top of that, we had these regular bullish divergences coming into play there. Yeah, that would have been a beautiful entry. That's too bad.
So, still on the oscillator where you're checking the bullish divergences, have you played around with the settings, or is it just the default one?
Default, except I believe I added the hidden divergences. I don't think those were default. Same with this oscillator up here. I believe I had to add the hidden ones.
Right, got you.
Yeah, well, on the 1 minute we got some buys here. And we also have this, this would be the moving average cloud. I'm not sure what trend do I have up here. Every chart I have different settings on this thing here. So this, where is the 1 hour trend right now? And this is like the main thing that I love about these indicators, guys, is not seeing it pop up. Oh, never mind. Let me just change my settings here a little bit. This cloud is distracting me. Wait for that to refresh here. Yeah, so which one of these was the 1 hour? The 1 hour trend's actually my favorite. Turn that off. Which one is going to disappear? Oh, so the 1 hour trend is actually showing bearish right now then, if I turn that back on. Like I said, I'm personally not interested in playing the short side of things right now. But yeah, I was talking earlier that, I'll go over some of my strategies and stuff like that. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen me post before and you've been sitting in on my streams. So I don't have a lot more to say about the longer time frame of what's going on. I think you all kind of get my general bias right now. But I want to take a look at some of these shorter time frames and just talk about a few of the signals that I like to see. The fact that I really like when we get signals along the trends of the advanced trend indicator. I've been using this indicator for over a year now, and it's my favorite just because I can zoom into such ridiculously short time frames like the 15 second, the 1 minute, whatever. But then I can add different trends. So even though I'm on the 1 minute chart right now, I can take a look at what the 1 hour trend is, right? So you have a general view of just the longer time frames while you're being on those degen time frames. And one of my favorite things to do with scalping now is, oh, nice, the long is carrying on with the Bitcoin here. I'm assuming I'm going to regret not still being in my Ethereum. Ah, piss sakes. Oh well, whatever. At least I still have one on the go. But yeah, I really like to have several of these indicators loaded up. You'll notice I have a whole bunch of trends here. Nice to see them all crossing bullish and stuff like that. Actually, this was a beautiful signal right here. I really like to have a whole bunch of these up, and you can see that I have the same indicator up because we only get 2 trends with the indicator. So I just load up 4 or 5 of them, and just basically I have every trend. All of them are on TMA, not EMA. And I got that from another guy in the group. You've probably seen him posting about it. But I basically have every trend up on my chart from the 1 minute to the 1 hour, and then that's where I'm able to kind of zoom into these shorter time frames and use them for entries as well. So this would be one of those times that, hey, I'm on the 15-second chart, but we see all of these bullish crosses happening on these moving averages. We're seeing these demand zones coming into play, and then we get a reversal warning like this, a bullish one, after we had all these bullish crosses here. That's where I like to start looking for entries. That is actually if you wanted a nice tight stop loss, depending what your risk appetite and how much leverage you're using and that kind of thing. I personally like to see that signal right on one of these trends, basically, like getting a little bit of a test on the trend. Then you see it reclaimed with a W, something like that. And specifically when they're trending up as well. If you say, let's say we have this reversal warning here, this bullish one. Our previous one happened back here. So they are actually trending to the upside. We also had the W's here trending to the upside. You can see there is one behind these little white symbols here. There's a W there. So we have the top W's trending to the upside, and then we have our bottom W's also trending to the upside. So that's where I was talking about using the signals to kind of point out a trend for you, right? I've been talking about this one for a few months now, that this is one of my strongest points of confluence when I'm trading. Usually if I end up losing a scalp trade, it's because I ignore my own strategy of which way the W's are trending. If they're not lining up with your idea, maybe it's just reason to scale back a position if you're looking at taking one, or just not entering at all, or looking at taking profits if you're in a position from the other direction. Stuff like that is how I really like to use this indicator. So the fact that we had these trending to the upside, the tops and the bottom W's, that would have been a beautiful entry right there, especially after that big bullish cross like I was talking about. And like I said, guys, when I do enter scalps on something like that, I am quick to start closing my position. If I had taken that trade, the next W, I would have been looking at closing at least a quarter of my position and updating my stop loss, because that's just kind of how I reduce risk. That way, or even if I don't, like sometimes I don't feel like I'm ready to update my stop loss, but just closing that part of a position even reduces your risk, for one, because you're locking in profits, and for two, then you have a smaller position if you do end up getting stopped out after that point, right? So as soon as I get that opposite signal, I'm definitely looking at scaling back my position already when I'm looking at scalping shorter time frames like this. But yeah, so far I like what I see. I like that they're all bullish right now. Leans with it just kind of factors in my bullish bias as well. Here we might even, we actually have another one. So I mean, that would even be another good signal. Nice tight stop loss basically below this structure back here. But again, it's trading these time frames is not for everybody, because I mean, things can change so rapidly. You have to be so fast at setting your entries, because really a few seconds later you might totally miss your entry, kind of a thing. When I'm looking at playing these smaller scalps, yeah, I still obviously lose a bunch of trades too, but when I take them, I'm looking at such small losses compared to, like I said, that position I took yesterday ended up topping out at over 400%. I was not expecting it to break even really 40 or 50%. Anything after that was an absolute treat, but you know, I can catch those runners with a nice tight stop loss, kind of a thing. This is struggling a little bit, but actually really this wouldn't even be invalidated until we drop below the previous W. Once we start losing that trend, that's where I'm starting to flip my bias a little bit. we still have this support coming up as well, and it's actually curling to the upside quite nicely. Got a nice demand zone here, but we also have one down here. So, I mean, things are looking pretty good for Bitcoin right now.
Do you mind quickly, like briefly explaining why you use the TMA rather than the EMA on the advanced trend?
Just because one of the other guys in the group, you've seen Thumpcase around, we've just chatted about these indicators and these strategies a lot over the last year or so. And that's just something that he started using, and we just kind of started I just kind of started trying it out, and I've just been liking it lately. So that's kind of the thing, is there's no special settings, numbers, preferences, anything that's going to be 100% correct, anything like that. There's no magic numbers. I still personally think it's important to do your own back testing, right? Because, I mean, we could have the same chart, the same trend lines, the same indicators, the same settings, and we could trade the market completely different. So it's important to kind of go go your own direction, find out what catches your eye, what you're able to catch on your own, what makes you take a second look at the market, stuff like that. So no matter how you have these indicators set up or anything, I would always just, like I said, just do your own back testing, find out, just as you're watching the charts. Like when I'm looking at these shorter time frames, I obviously stare at a lot of charts. I'm okay with that. That's not for everybody, but if I have 3 monitors on the go, so I always have a bunch of charts up. And over time, I just kind of notice things with the indicator, things that catch my eye, and basically develop strategies from there. So like I said, I really like to look at which way the W's are trending. And right now, you know what, here's a good example, and this is why I love looking at the shorter time frames with you guys. This isn't a sell signal here, but behind these white signals, they're actually covering up a couple W's here. Actually, let me just remove those for the ease of it. Oh boy, not sure which one. There we go. Those will disappear in a second. This is a bit of a warning here. We'll see when those disappear. When I'm talking about which way the W's are trending, since we did set a lower low W, that's just a bit of a warning, right? It's not necessarily a sell signal. A sell signal would be more so when you have, let's say, a reversal here, and then we get our lower low W, and then we see a lower high W come in, something like that. That's more where I'd be interested in shorting, just because, again, just looking at which way the W's are trending for that specific strategy. Ideally, they're lining up with some kind of a Fibonacci level that I want to, like the 786, 886 Fibonacci with lower W's kind of a thing. That's more where I'm looking to take a short. Like I said, right now I'm not looking for a short period. But just wanted to let you know, when I see the W's change directions potentially here, because obviously the top ones have not done that yet. We haven't set a lower high W yet. But this is just a warning, like I said, just because we have the bottoms switching direction. I wouldn't take this buy signal all too serious as a reversal warning, just because it's a lower high, so it's trending to the downside. So just another way that I use the indicators as a bit of risk management, right?
Yeah, got you.
We do still have this nice demand zone here. Things are looking okay, but yeah, it's not quite getting the blast off I was hoping for, but I mean, we'll see what happens here. Actually, guess what I'm going to look for? What Fibonacci lines do you think we bottomed out at right here? Oh, look at that. 786, 886 Fibonacci pocket. Magic. But again, it's a super short time frame, and I was talking about this a little bit in my previous stream as well. I don't recall where I heard this, but it just kind of stuck with me as a reminder that, hey, just remember to play whatever time frame you're playing, right? when you're looking at closing your position. And I remember somebody saying they're thinking about scaling back their position after 7 candles of whatever time frame they're playing. And whether or not that's a valid statement, I haven't back tested that or anything, but just as a reminder to myself, that's where, like, hey, if I would be entering a position on one of these shorter time frames, I know I said in the Discord earlier that I don't really like sharing my trades that I'm taking on the 15-second, because by the time I take those trades, set my stop loss, take a screenshot, explain to you what I'm looking at, I mean, that position is as good as useless at that point, because that might have been a whole minute that goes by. And when you're looking at these shorter time frames, I mean, a minute is several candles, right? So it's not for everybody, that's for sure. But yeah, I don't know why that stuck with me, but that's just a reminder to myself that, hey, if I'm entering a position on a 15-second type of a chart, within a couple minutes, I should be thinking about downsizing my position in whatever way necessary, basically, if I can start locking in profits or whatever. And that's where I hope for the home run with the rest of the position, right? How do you guys typically trade? Like, do I have more swing traders here, more scalpers here? I see a lot of people in the group are constantly day trading and stuff, more like myself, but I know a lot of people are just swing traders, and really it's whatever works for you. There's not one way that's necessarily better than the other. It's just whatever works for your personalities. I find that I panic more when I'm in a swing trade. I don't have the patience for it, so I just have to remember to close my positions real quick, and I trade better doing that. So I'm personally more of a scalper.
Yeah, no, just a swing trading for me really. Went from kind of long term investing to kind of swing trading, but I I wouldn't want to get near scalping, not anytime soon anyway.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's best for most people. I feel like most people do invest, and if any trading, swing trade better, just because it is a more relaxed approach. Yeah, I know, obviously, I would say most good traders are swing traders, to be honest. I think good scalpers are far and few between. I think people get too greedy too easily, and like I was talking about, I mean, entering a position on a 1 minute chart but expecting the move of a 4 hour chart kind of a thing. I think that's just too common of a mindset, and that's why a lot of people have a hard time scalping.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so far where we found that reversal, the bullish reversal after all these bullish crosses, that is where we're holding support so far. That is our demand zone still. But again, 15-second, take it for what it is. But yeah, it's nice showing you guys on these shorter time frames. Hopefully you guys find this useful, like just kind of getting a general idea how I like to use the indicators, whether, like I said, whether it's looking at entering a trade, getting out of a trade, just managing my risk. Just a few different ways I like to use. And really, since I started using these indicators a year ago, I mean, they've come a long way, but in the last year, that's really all I've used. I don't use other indicators other than the Fibonacci. Once in a while, the RSI, I suppose, if I'm looking for certain double top, double bottom trade setups with divergences. There's a very specific trade setup I look at for those. But generally speaking, I just have these indicators up and use a Fibonacci tool and basic trend lines. That's basically, yeah, I love them. I love the way they make the chart look. I really like all the colors. So many bonuses to this. That being said, guys, if anybody has any visual issues, if your colors don't look crisp like mine and the candle bodies are kind of colored funny, right click on any of the signals and go to visual order, bring to front. If that is not selected, sometimes your colors can look a little bit funny. You can also find it on the 3 dots on the indicators. But yeah, make sure that's on. Yeah, see, like this example here, if you would have ended up getting in at either this demand zone here or even that 886, 786 fib pocket, I mean, we're getting back up to one of these trends. That's a time where you'd already be kind of looking at taking a little bit of profits if you got in down there. But yeah, we'll see. I am, like I said, I am not interested in shorting. I still have this little bit of a long position open. Stop loss just below this yellow line here. And we're going to see what happens with the rest of that. Other than that, guys, I don't really have much else I wanted to touch on. Is there anything that I rambled and didn't clearly explain? Is there anything, does anyone have any questions about the settings, the features, something I've talked about that didn't explain well? Is there any questions out there?
Not from me, Stuart, but I found that really insightful. So thank you very much for that. Just out of curiosity, how often do you do these trading sessions?
Usually once a week, and lately they've been on Thursdays is where they fit me in. So yeah, generally the same time. Thursdays at this time is generally when I'm doing them. And you know, sometimes if I'm not already in a trade, there has been some where we have taken some trades live and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. We usually have a decent turnout here, and I don't get to talk crypto enough with my everyday real life friends. So I really appreciate getting to talk crypto with you guys. And honestly, just hearing other people's opinions, I find there's so much knowledge in this group. Everyone has experience in different ways. I was talking about that earlier today, that I truly appreciate being a part of this community, because I'm just like you guys. I am learning just like everybody else. The market is constantly teaching us, and it's great to have different approaches, find out different strategies that work for you. And it's so nice having that experience, that combined experience with this whole group, and everyone always wants to help each other and stuff. It's a great place to be, guys. And the fact that you are here just shows that you are taking that next step in trading, right? You're willing to learn rather than just, oh, this market manipulation is the reason why I'm losing these trades, and you know, those kinds of things. It's good that you're actually here learning. And I mean, some of you may very well be a lot better traders than me, but we're all here, we're all learning together. And yeah, it's great just having insights from everybody. So appreciate having you guys here. Other than that, I think I'm going to wrap up, fellas. For those of you who are new here, I do post these on my own YouTube channel as well, because they usually don't show up in the Academy for a few days, whereas it should be up on my channel within a few hours. So if you ever miss my videos and you want to check in on them, also my own random analysis videos, be sure to check out my YouTube channel there. Sometimes I don't have time to make videos, and I'm posting on my Twitter. Follow me there if you're on Twitter as well. And for those of you here with me right now, since you are already in the group, be sure to check out on the dashboard, go to the legend board. This is where it's basically a fantasy portfolio league. You can win actual money, but it's totally free to do if you're a member. You can easily make back the cost of the group with a couple nice altcoin picks. Very cool. They have weekly and monthlies. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun, and you can make actual cash prizes by doing so. So be sure to get involved with that as well. Yeah, anyways, my friends, if you're watching this stream a little later on my YouTube channel and appreciated this video, please do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't. If you want access to these beautiful indicators, the VIP Discord, as well as a couple no KYC crypto exchanges, I've got some referral links down below for some special bonuses, discounts, and so on. With that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.